Conor McGregor has opened up on his altercation with Machine Gun Kelly on the red carpet of the VMAs on Sunday. A video emerged showing the two getting into a scuffle on the red carpet. According to TMZ, McGregor asked MGK for a photo, which the rapper declined and reportedly shoved the Irishman, which caused him to spill his drink. McGregor then threw his drink at Kelly and the two got into an altercation and they were forced to be separated. It was then reported that security had a hard time getting McGregor away from the red carpet. They scuffled, then it settled down, and then Conor went for him again, a source said to Page 6, adding that the photographers weren't happy and were saying they were going to boycott Conor because they were worried MGK and Megan wouldn't walk. McGregor was ready to throw fists, the second source said, adding security was having trouble holding him back. However, Conor McGregor has since spoken about it to Entertainment Today, where he said nothing happened. He also claims he doesn't even know who Machine Gun Kelly is, despite him reportedly asking for a picture. Absolutely nothing happened. I don't know. I just showed up and I don't know. I don't even know the guy, to be honest with you. Nothing happened with me. I only fight real fighters. People that actually fight. I certainly don't fight little Vanilla Ice white rappers. I don't even know the guy. I don't know anything about him except that he's with Megan Fox. Conor McGregor, of course, is coming off a broken leg TKO loss to Dustin Poirier at UFC 264. Prior to that, he was knocked out by Poirier at UFC 257 in his return to the octagon. On a recent episode of the Weighing In podcast, Big John reflected on how Dana White has treated certain fighters in the past. He had the following to say: "It doesn't matter what you do, there's always going to be people that like you and dislike you. That's just part of humanity, and that's the way it is. The one thing that I've always thought of in MMA is that you've always had guys that all of a sudden act like tough guys when they become a part of MMA. And it's like, you're not tough, you know? Just because you're a part of the sport, just because you have a position, be it you're someone running a company or you're someone that's in an athletic commission spot or something like that, that doesn't mean that you're a tough guy. So stop acting like a tough guy, okay? Because in reality, you're going off of the fact that you either have power over that fighter or you have a position with government that's going to control the fighter to a point where they're not going to react the way they should in knocking the shit out of you based upon what you're saying to them. But you're going to get those ones where you just don't agree with them personality-wise. You don't agree and stuff, and that's going to happen. But I've said, treat people the way you want to be treated and treat everyone with respect. With Dana, there's guys that love him and there's guys that hate him. I don't hate Dana, but I do know that sometimes he needs to understand the power of his words. Sometimes he doesn't understand how much he's hurting somebody with what he's saying, because he's trying to be honest in his opinion. His opinion carries a lot of weight, and he's got to be careful with it. What he says hurts. If you got a big boxing match coming up, and Dana goes and says, "Oh, let's be honest, you haven't won a fight in this long, and you're this old, etc., it hurts, because it's not like it's somebody on the internet. This is somebody that you've dealt with and you've had a relationship with. So when he says these things to the media, it hurts." On Saturday, Anderson Silva continued his remarkable resurgence, knocking out Tito Ortiz in the co-main event of Triller Fight Club's latest offering. This was Silva's second win in boxing in 2021, having taken a unanimous decision over former WBC middleweight champion Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. earlier this year, and somehow the 46-year-old UFC middleweight champion has become the feel-good story of combat sports. So uplifting, in fact, that former rival Michael Bisping couldn't help but be impressed by the Spider on Saturday. "Anderson Silva is one of the greatest martial artists that the human race has ever seen," Bisping said on his YouTube channel. "He is the modern-day Bruce Lee. Anderson Silva truly is one of the greatest of all time, and that is just a fact. Tito said he's going to go out there and punch a hole in his head, and he's a fighter and all the rest of it, and he ain't going to use none of that Wing Chun bollocks on him. That is not the way you fight Anderson Silva. You can't go in against Anderson Silva and be aggressive. No way. Anderson Silva's timing is impeccable. His reflexes are cat-like, urban cat-like. And the diversity of attacks that Anderson Silva has is mind-blowing. Tito should have known coming into this fight against Anderson that you have to be strategic. For Anderson Silva to still be doing this at this level at 46 years old after the career that he had in mixed martial arts, we all know the fall from grace that he had. He lost a few fights and then he ended up getting knocked out by Uriah Hall. It looked like it was over, but he really has had a rebirth. And as a fan of Anderson Silva, and make no mistake, I'm a fan of Anderson Silva. You have to be. How can you not respect the body of work? And also the way that he carries himself. Of course he had the little thing with the steroids and whatnot, and you all know my view on that, and when I fought him, I let him know my thoughts on that, make no mistake. I punished him for it. I made a fool out of him. I insulted him to the highest degree. But that's water under the bridge. And Saturday night, Anderson Silva looked absolutely fantastic. So well done to Anderson. There's still life in the old dog yet. UFC light heavyweight champ John McCarthy says a possible showdown with Jiří Procházka must take place in Europe. The duo, who hail from the neighboring European nations of Poland and Czechia, seem almost destined to fight if Blachowicz defends his title against Glover Teixeira at UFC 267. And they could even face off then, with Procházka serving as backup for the Fight Island main event taking place on October 30th. Whenever it's destined to happen, the fight is one fans are lusting for, and it would be a matchup of two fighters who have trodden wildly different paths to the top of the UFC light heavyweight division. In 2020, Blachowicz became the second oldest UFC champion ever by capturing the belt against Dominic Reyes. It was the then 37-year-old's 16th fight in the UFC, some 6 years after making his promotional debut. Procházka, on the other hand, is on the cusp of a title shot after just 2 fights in the UFC. The 28-year-old has not only won over fans with the spectacular knockouts of Volkan Oezdemir and Dominic Reyes, but with his unorthodox style and endearing personality. Blachowicz has certainly paid attention to the meteoric rise of Procházka, and it seems he's looking forward to a possible match with the Czech. Speaking to MMA Fighting, Blachowicz shared his thoughts on Jiří's UFC run thus far. Yeah, great run for him. He's a crazy fighter, but in a good way. Crazy, wild style, but he knows how to use it. But I believe that I will fight against Glover Teixeira, and maybe in the future with Jiří, but somewhere in Europe. If I have to fight with Jiří, we will do this in Poland or somewhere in Europe, because all Europe would like to come and see this fight live. Champ, however, said he isn't looking past Glover Teixeira, but first of all I have to beat Glover. I focus on him, and I hope nothing will change, because when I beat Glover, maybe my next opponent will be Jiří. This fight will have to not be in Abu Dhabi, not be in USA, but in Europe.